Lancia Stratos 0 1970 Bertone. There are cars that you instantly imagine when you hear the name. Someone said Stratos, and the image of a fast rally car, hung with chandeliers of fog lights, immediately pops up in my head, which rushes along the distance of the Kenyan safari to the next podium. The new hero of the old but not useless section is also Stratos, but completely different. This is the Lancia Stratos 0, perhaps the main concept car of the 1970s, which opened its doors by driving under the barrier. How to find a job for your design studio. You can respond to any incoming proposals, or you can send your own resume everywhere. Nuccio Bertone, director of the famous and eponymous body shop, preferred the second method. In the late 1960s, Nuccio wanted to get the attention of Lancia. At that time, the famous Italian brand was mainly working with other carrozzeria. First of all with Pininfarina and Zagato. How to present the goods to the body shop in person. Of course, build a concept car. Only the concept Bertone conceived is not simple. What was needed was not a one-day butterfly for a couple of exhibitions, but a masterpiece, a software concept that the whole world would talk about. And Nuccio knew the right performer. A little earlier, in 1965, Giorgio Giugiaro left Bertone. The main design talent of the generation moved to Gaia. Marcello Gandini was supposed to do the impossible and replace the brilliant Italian. In the future, both will become great, if not the greatest stylists of the 20th century. But 2 years of working together at Bertone shows that two bears cannot get along in the same den. Giugiaro and Gandini were the same age, but fame came to Giorgio earlier and he was rather skeptical of Marcello's work. Jealous? Just underestimated? Doesn't matter. The main thing is that when Giorgio left the Bertone studio, Gandini realized that this was a chance to step out of the shadows. The plan was simple, to shock the world. They started, however, extremely mundane, with the purchase of an accident-carried Lancia Fulvia. The body of the car, unlike the mechanical components, suffered significantly, but Bertone and Gandini had their own plans for it. Gandini was already experimenting with a completely new direction, a strict geometric style that went against the lush, voluminous forms of the 1950s and 1960s. The blueprints for the new school were seen in the Lamborghini Marsland Alfa Romeo Carabo, but even those concepts paled in comparison to the Stratos 0. Gandini's main task was to create a car that conveys a sense of movement, even when standing still. Over the following decades, this design concept lost its originality, but at the threshold of the 1970s it sounded fresh. Marcello started with the lowest possible silhouette and graphic minimalism. The Stratos 0 is just 84 centimeters tall, and the front of the concept flows naturally into the windshield. When viewed in profile, the car looked like a giant diamond with lined edges. At the same time, it has windows, but no doors at all. Having driven himself into a corner with the minimalism of dimensions and graphic solutions, Gandini masterfully extricated himself from the situation. They got into the Stratos 0 salon by folding the windshield frame up. The faceted hood looked even more aesthetically pleasing, which, in the manner of a piano lid, leaned to the side. Outside the current trends were lighting fixtures. The narrow bar of the headlights and the brake lights made up of 84 bulbs surprisingly resembled the solutions of production cars, but already in the 2020s. Can you imagine what they said about the interior of the concept in 1970? With a steering column, which the driver literally passed between his legs, and a dashboard in the form of a giant tablet, mounted on the front left wheel arch. The tablet, of course, is analog, and all of the Stratos 0 devices are mechanical. Only the technical stuffing of the concept seemed deliberately simple. Under the hood of the car was a modest 115 horsepower V-shaped four-cylinder engine from Fulvia. But with the weight of the concept only about 700 kilograms, this was enough to drive briskly. The world premiere was held at the Turin Auto Show in the autumn of 1970. Of course, Stratos 0 riveted all the attention, eclipsing even Pininfarina's Ferrari 512S Modulo, another member of the geometric concept family. There was a lot of noise and talk around the car. And not everyone, by the way, shared the enthusiasm about the genius of Gandini's creation. The best car in the world, if you don't count the looks, the English autocar declared sarcastically. An ingenious creation that makes you take a fresh look at automotive design. The American Road and Track did not agree with the opinion of colleagues. It is curious that soon after the exhibition, Stratos Zero was given to journalists for a test drive. The editors of the Quattro powerfully trampled on visibility, but in general they were satisfied. And pictures of the conceptual launch on the streets of Milan scattered around the world. According to urban legend, the prototype rolled into the Lancia headquarters on its own and drove into the courtyard without waiting for the security guard to check the documents and raise the barrier. The 84 centimeters high concept car easily passed under it. Whether this is true or not is hard to say, but the Lancia management was impressed. Of course, Stratos Zero did not begin to be converted into a production car. But the concept car launched the collaboration of two Italian brands. And the star of the 1970 Turin Motor Show lifted Marcello Gandini to the design Olympus. You can have different attitudes to the geometric direction in automotive design in general and to the Stratos Zero in particular, but do not forget, without them there would be no Lamborghini Countach and Diablo, just like the Ferrari Testarossa.